Snap out of it. Stop thinking your vote doesn't matter and doesn't affect our community. This November, truth is, we need everyone to vote. Fill out your ballot early and return it before November 7th. Then text your family and friends that their vote matters and remind them to get up, get out, and be a voter. A message from the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County.
Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County Forum for candidates for Arlington School District Directors in positions 1 and 4. I'm Karen Madsen, a member of the League. The forum is being live streamed to our League YouTube channel, and to those of you who are with us virtually, thanks for joining us. Let me provide some background on the position of school director. School district directors set policies on curriculum and make decisions on books, dress codes, and disciplinary actions. They hire superintendents, set district budgets, and work with teachers, administrators, parents, and community members to support all aspects of K-12 education. Candidates for School District Director 1 in Arlington this evening are Matthew Diamond and Joy Johnson. Candidates for Arlington School District Director 4 are Mary Levesque and Sam Ostap. Sam Ostap is not joining us today. It's the policy of the League to be nonpartisan. Therefore, we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or parties. The rules for participation in this forum were sent ahead of time to all the candidates. I'll pose the questions. I'll clearly state the amount of time allowed for each answer. We're using a countdown timer visible to the candidates and to me, and time limits on answers will be strictly enforced. I'll change the starting order for each question, alternating candidates in the starting position to ensure a fair sequence. The order for the first question will be Ms. Johnson, then Ms. Levesque, then Mr. Diamond. And then we'll rotate as we go from question to question. Let's begin. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to this first question. Ms. Johnson, this question is, what are the major issues you feel need to be addressed by this office? Please explain why you're focusing on these issues.
Hello, thanks for having me. I think currently one of the largest issues we're facing is a budget shortfall with the district. I know this from attending school board meetings regularly and being involved in a lot of the community committees. There's going to be some difficult decisions ahead on how to fund the services that they currently provide. I'm from a district as a child that went through similar growth in the area and budget shortfalls and not having new enough facilities and not enough facilities for all of the kids. So I'm very familiar with a lot of decisions that need to happen. Another issue of concern for me is safety. We've made a lot of improvements to the schools with physical safety, but I think there's more that can be done. I also hear a lot from parents about troubles with bullying. So I'm interested in learning more about what the district policies are for handling children who are victims of bullying. And I'm really interested in seeing if we can get some restorative justice processes in place across the district. I know there's some limitations within the way the state laws are written, so I really want to learn more about that and how our district policies fit into that, and do the best I can to listen to parents and make sure that their kids are being taken care of.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Levesque, your thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Some of the issues that the school district is currently facing, a lot of them stem from the challenges during our COVID period. We have a lot of issues with the lack of learning that took place during the school closure time. And so there's gaps in some of our children's understanding of various subjects. There's also some behaviors that are uncomfortable to talk about, but there's a lot of children that are suffering from anxiety and depression. There was a lot of students that were isolated and went through some really challenging emotional struggles during COVID. So we've got our work cut out for us with helping them to overcome some of their social and emotional challenges. We've also got some challenges with substance abuse. We've had an increase of students vaping, and that we are trying to help the students overcome some of those challenges. And we also have some budget shortfalls, so we have less money to work with for some higher needs for a lot of children. We also have some struggles with our staffing, because we don't have enough in our budget for everything that we need. We have to stretch our staff, and that's hard on them. It's hard on our students. And it's because we don't have enough funding for everything that we need. So thank you for asking.
Mr. Diamond, your sense of the major issues?
There we go. Thanks. Hi, everybody. I think as a school board candidate, I firmly believe that addressing mental health issues amongst our students is kind of a top priority. I'm committed to making it a central focus on why I'm running for school board. Some of the major issues that are coming up are the escalating prevalence of mental health challenges among students, such as anxiety, depression, and it directly affects academic performance and future prospects. So by focusing on this issue, I aim to ensure that the students are emotionally healthy, which is the foundation for their success. Access to mental health services is another pressing concern. Many students lack access due to financial constraints or geographic barriers. I think by focusing on this issue, I aim to make quality mental health support readily accessible for all students. Prevention and early intervention are key. By equipping students with skills to handle stress and adversity, we can address these issues before they become severe, kind of reducing the long-term impacts on their lives. And one of the most important things is supporting teachers and staff. They play a central role in student mental health. Usually they're the first line of defense. And we need to provide them with the training and resources to identify and support struggling students. I'm focusing on mental health in schools because it's inextricably linked to their academic success, social development, and future well-being. By addressing these concerns, we can create a more supportive and nurturing education environment, fostering emotional health and resilience for our students, ultimately leading to happier and more successful lives. Thank you.
You are welcome, Mr. Diamond. Candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to each of the next 4 questions. Timer, please adjust the clock accordingly. And Ms. Levesque, you lead off on this next one. You've articulated the major issues you feel need to be addressed for your district. And so now the question is, what qualifications and experiences make you a good choice to address those issues?
Thank you, Karen. I have a lot of experience as a volunteer in our community and in our schools. I have 6 children of my own, and I've been a classroom volunteer and a dedicated PTA volunteer that has served in various schools in various positions for almost 25 years, 24 years. So I have a lot of experience in the classroom just as a volunteer, where I was able to see what was going on up close and personal and help out as much as I could. I also volunteer in other areas in the community, so I'm pretty engaged in what's going on and talk to a lot of families and students. I have been serving on the school board for the last 4 years, and during the last 2 years, I've been serving as the president. And my favorite thing to do on the school board, and hopefully I get to continue doing that, is to visit the schools and see learning in action and to hear from the students directly about what impacts them, what gets in the way of their learning, and what kind of goals that they have that we can help assist them with. So as I hopefully continue on the school board, I will continue to learn and listen from our community and to use my experience and knowledge that I've gained as I've served to help me advocate for students and for the
Thank
best.
you, Ms. Levesque. Appreciate it. Mr. Diamond, qualifications and experiences?
Thank you. So I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker. I already work in a school system. I work with the most impacted students in a self-contained behavior classroom in the second largest district in the state. I have 11 years mental health experience, 6 years as a licensed clinician, and 5 years working with children and adolescents. I have a master's degree in social work, a bachelor's in psychology with a minor in growth and development from the University of Utah. Right now, I'm currently working with directors and associate directors of special education and have a pretty intimate knowledge and understanding of the mental health services, both in and out of school systems, and the challenges that many school systems face with mental health in the school and within the system.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Oh, okay. Qualifications, experience that make me a good choice to address these issues. So I'm currently a parent of a child in the district, and we've been here now for 8 years. And while I've been here, I've been a volunteer with community committees, currently actively part of the district and community equity team, actively followed school board meetings so I can understand what's going on within the district, how the business is run, what decisions are made. And professionally, I'm a business analyst and chief of staff, and I've been managing and running board of directors for over 20 years. So I understand what community decision making is like, how financial decisions are made, how to read and understand complex budgets. And I've been pretty detailed involved in the current business and problems and struggles that the district is having. So I'm pretty informed going into the role. Thank you.
Thank you for that background. Mr. Diamond, you get to lead off on this one. How do you prioritize budget needs? What do you weigh first when making budget decisions?
I think the first thing when making budget decisions is student well-being and safety. I think mental health, especially, is an integral component of their overall well-being. So prioritizing resources that impact student mental health. I think also prevention and early intervention, as I talked about before, this is really where we can kind of give the kids the skills and kind of intervene before mental health becomes a long lasting kind of event. I think next would be equity and accessibility, ensuring that mental health resources are accessible to all students, prioritizing budget decisions that promote equity and accessibility, and working to bridge the gap between students who have easy access to mental health and those who have barriers such as financial and geographical limitations. I think comprehensive approaches when we do budget, kind of getting everybody on board, school counselors, social workers, mental health professionals, teachers, admin, and giving them sort of kind of the training, at least staff, to work with kids with mental health, and collaboration and community involvement. I think this is kind of one of the bigger things that we miss out on a lot, is collaborating with our parents and giving them or showing them resources and helping them with resources. And so I think when we look at kind of allocating
Thank you, Mr. Diamond.
Thank
you. Ms. Johnson, your thoughts on the budget?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Thank you for asking. How do you prioritize budget needs? What do you weigh first when making budget decisions?
I think the fundamental basic needs of the students are number one. Completely agree with both Matt and Mary that our mental health needs are at an extreme need right now, and funding definitely needs to go in there. They are completely linked with how well our students do. I also understand that our low income to middle income struggling families rate in our district is pretty high, and that can make it really difficult to have enough resources for students to succeed. So being able to provide what they need as much as possible. I support the school district continuing to pay for supplies and our electronic tools that we need to do our work from home when we're doing our schoolwork, the Chromebooks, iPads. I think that's it.
Great. Thank you very much. And Ms. Levesque, budget?
It's a hot topic. Thank you for asking about the budget. One of the things that we did in Arlington last year that I really encouraged and supported was we started something called our budget task force. And it was a way to engage their community. We had staff and parents and community members that we all joined together to really dive deep into our budget needs and what is the most important priorities. And we asked a lot of people what they thought. We had some opportunities for people to weigh in, and we gathered all of their answers. And then as a board, we looked at all of that information when we had to make some really tough choices as we were looking at how we weren't getting the federal ESSER dollars anymore, and our fund balance was dangerously low. So when we had to make cuts this last year, in order to make the least painful cuts, we looked at what would affect the students' learning and their health and safety, and kept that as a top priority. One thing that I really appreciated was people were absolutely honest, even though it was uncomfortable, that we were able to talk about where the really big struggles were. And so I really think that community partnership is the way to go about dealing with some of those challenges.
Thank you very much. Ms. Johnson, the next question has to do with academic performance of students, and it is, what suggestions do you have for improving the academic performance of students in the district? Still 90 seconds on this one.
I think addressing those mental health needs and the needs in the home are primary. I also think that flexible learning choices is really important. My child attends SVLC, Skagit Valley Learning Center, where it's an alternative learning program. And having a flexible environment where they can either do Arlington online, that's full-time, or they can do the hybrid program when they're in person and they do for 3 days and 2 days at home. It fits the needs of different kids. There's smaller classes, and having the flexibility to have traditional school in our district and those alternative learning programs is really important. And I think that can help bridge some of the gap with students who are having some struggles. I appreciate that our district allows parents pretty readily to transfer between schools and find one that fits their needs really well. And I think that continuing to pay attention to how we're doing with our testing and staffing of teachers to address the needs is going to be important.
Thank you very much, Ms. Levesque.
Thank you. Can you repeat the question, Karen?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I appreciate when you ask to have questions repeated so that we can all be on target with the same response. Thank you very much. What suggestions do you have for improving the academic performance of students in the district?
Thank you. There's a lot of things that I would love to encourage. Number one being attendance. There's a lot of barriers for learning, but number one is attendance. If kids aren't in school, they can't learn at school. So I would suggest that we really work hard on increasing our attendance and looking at what barriers are in the way for students to come to school and helping to remove some of those barriers. I am a big fan of community and family engagement, and I think it's really important to get everybody on the same team working hard to help these students learn. So I would encourage more volunteerism, more hands-on learning, more projects, more fun. The kids, when they report what kind of learning they like, it's always about whatever's funnest, and they don't realize how much they're learning when they're involved in a hands-on project where it's manipulating things or learning about things or field trips and things like that. So whatever we can do to make learning as fun as possible, and get the kids in the door, and engage the whole community, and get lots of volunteers in our schools, it's going to help our students learn a lot more of what we really want them to learn, which is math and reading, which is where we're struggling. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Mr. Diamond.
I think one of the biggest things is that, adding social emotional learning kind of at all levels within the school. Social emotional learning emphasizes skills like self-awareness, emotional regulation, and empathy. I mean, the pandemic really did set kids back, social, emotional, academically. And so realizing kind of we need to build those safety nets in place within them, within the kids. And so using social emotional learning, creating safe and inclusive learning environments, and it allows students to feel secure and supported. Open communication between students, educators, and parents can also help address emotional needs and provide the foundation for better academic outcomes. Social emotional learning not only enhances academic success, but it also equips students with essential life skills.
Thank you. On to a question about curriculum. Ms. Levesque, you have the opportunity to respond first. And the question is, what criteria should be applied when determining curriculum content in this district?
Well, I'm not a curriculum expert, so I would always ask the experts in their field what is the best kind of curriculum that they need. When our district is looking to adopt some new curriculum or change curriculum, we have something like a curriculums committee. It's our instructional materials committee, and it's comprised of administrators and teachers and staff and families and community members. And we have one of our school board members that serves on that committee. And it goes through a rigorous process of review and evaluation, and it has to fit a certain criteria and follow a rubric that has our standards and our expectations on it. I would assume that everybody would want to see all the curriculum, but nobody's got time to learn every single page in every single textbook that's all across our district. It's quite large. So I would leave it in the hands of the experts. And if anybody has any struggles or difficulties or concerns about curriculum, then they would just follow the regular pattern of asking a question to the lowest level. And if they don't get the answer from the classroom teacher or the librarian that they're looking for, then they would escalate it up to the next level and follow the chain of command. And ultimately, if they still don't get their concerns resolved, then they would go to the school board with their concerns. Thank you.
Mr. Diamond, curriculum.
Thank you. I agree with Mary, leaving it up to the curriculum experts. I think one of the things that we could add, kind of hitting this heavy tonight, the social emotional learning and mental health. Again, the kids, one of the takeaways that I've noticed since the pandemic is that kids are learning at different levels. So curriculum for fourth grade may work for some, but not for all. And so having flexibility in the curriculum to catch students up and to help to be able to spend time with them to help them understand, to get them to where they need to be. Because more often than not, it's not their fault, especially with the pandemic. Like, it wasn't their choice. And so I think focusing on the curriculum to the experts with kind of that mental health addition, or that mental health lens.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
I am also not a curriculum expert, but I do know that we have some highly educated and experienced professionals working in our school district, and both as teaching staff and in our administration. And I have watched the process of curriculum review and the committees working by participating and viewing on the school board meetings. It seems like it's pretty comprehensive, and they do a really good job bringing in the viewpoints of the teachers and their expertise in academia. And they also make sure that they are meeting all of the needs they need to for state requirements. So basically continuing to do what they currently are. If anything, I would push more to go a little faster at reviewing some of the subjects that haven't been reviewed in a while, just to make sure that we're up to date. Thanks.
You're welcome. We'll pick up the pace a little for these last three questions with 60 seconds allowed for each response. Timer, please adjust the time clock, and Mr. Diamond, please respond first. What is your position on the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion training for educators and other staff? Please explain.
Absolutely. Diversity, equity, and inclusion training equips educators and staff with the knowledge and tools to create a welcoming and respectful environment for all students, regardless of their background. It helps remove unconscious bias or awareness of unconscious bias and stereotypes. It helps foster cultural competence with staff and our students. And from an academic perspective, diversity, equity, and inclusion training supports student achievement. Educators who are trained in those principles are better equipped to address unique needs of the diverse student body. And it's an ongoing process, right? We're learning more and more about it, and it encourages educators and staff to engage in continuous self-reflection and learning. So yeah, I'm all about it.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Johnson, your thoughts?
Would you repeat that one for me, please?
Gladly. What is your position on the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion training for educators and other staff? Please explain.
Absolutely. It's very important. And I've been on the district equity and district community equity team since it started. It's important for all of us to realize that talking about equity and inclusion is really about all of our differences. None of us are the same. Even if we look similar, we have different backgrounds, different abilities, different knowledge, and the training actually allows us to understand each other better, relate better, and communicate better. And having teachers and staff that can do that with our kids, help them feel seen and cared for, it's only an advantage, and it will help make school better for everyone.
And finally, on this topic, Ms. Levesque.
I'm also in agreement that we desperately need our schools and our staff to have as much training on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have a lot of students that are not treated kindly, and it impacts their learning. And we need our community to realize that all people are wonderful and unique and important, and to learn how we can treat each other better. And I echo what Joy and Matt said, that it's absolutely essential to their learning and to our community being the best it can be.
Thanks so much. Ms. Johnson, you get to go first on this one. And the question is this: what considerations should be made in responding to a request to ban a book from the school library or the curriculum?
Oh, this is a good one. I was looking forward to it. I go back to my answer about curriculum. I think that our school staff and librarians are very experienced and knowledgeable and educated. And for the most part, I don't think that they're going to have books that would cause harm. However, I understand that families and parents and guardians may have some very valid concerns, and I'm totally interested in hearing what they have to say and understanding where they're coming from. Oftentimes, it's a misunderstanding about what the content is and how it's being used, what population is actually being exposed to it. So if we just have a conversation about it, most of the time we can find common ground. And so far, I have never in my life come across a book that I think needs to be banned. So that's where I stand there.
Ms. Levesque.
So last year, my freshman brought home a book from the school library, and it was not appropriate for a 15-year-old boy. It probably would have been more appropriate for a 17-year-old girl. It had some different topics that he probably didn't understand. So I said to his teacher, I don't think this is the best book. I don't think that this is meeting the goal, that he could use a different book. So that is the way that I would address it if somebody had a concern about a book. Is first talk to the teacher, start at the lowest level, just like with any concern that you have with the district. You start at the lowest level. And if it's a problem in the classroom, you talk to the teacher and address your concerns. If you don't get the right answer or you're still not having your needs met, then you go to the next level and talk to the principal and then the superintendent and then the school board. So hopefully we don't have to deal with this, but lowest level first.
Mr. Diamond, last thoughts on this?
I agree with both Joy and Mary. But I think when we take into consideration kind of looking at what a book ban means, it's pretty heavy. But again, we do have professionals, experts who in their field. I think the things we need to look at, though, kind of the educational value, right? Is it age appropriate? Could it be age appropriate later? Does it include diverse perspectives? What is the kind of goal of the book and in the school? And like Mary said, the parental concerns are valid, right? And I think giving them an offer, an option for opting out rather than banning would be a better route. And seeking professional guidance, seeking input and feedback from the experts, from the librarians, from the educators.
Thank you, Mr. Diamond. Appreciate those thoughts. And Ms. Levesque, you have the opportunity to lead off on our very last question. Please tell us something about your life experience that might surprise or intrigue voters.
Thank you, Karen. One thing that just to get to know me a little bit, I am a mom of 6 and I was stay-at-home mom for about 20 years. And I kind of went a little bit, I don't know, lonely, crazy, bored, and decided to join PTA at every single level of all of my children's schools and was on 3 different PTA boards at the same time and 3 different bank accounts and 3 different treasurers. And I had the time of my life. I love being busy. I show up and I get the work done, and I love ice cream. So there you go.
Mr. Diamond.
I think an interesting life experience, which I mean, the military experience, the 6 years that I spent in the Air Force, as odd as it sounds, really equipped me to working with children. A lot of working with the same type of people. But it was also a fun experience and kind of opened my eyes to the world around us and other perspectives. Yeah.
Thank you. And Ms. Johnson, you have the very last word.
In my professional life, what surprises people the most is that I graduated from a high school just like Weston. I graduated from an alternative high school where it was a full regular curriculum. And while I was there, we were fully accredited to go directly into California state schools and universities. While I was there, I went to school with children with all kinds of different backgrounds, people who had parents with drug addiction, homelessness, severe medical issues, people who were advanced and wanted to go faster than the rest of the kids. So I have a huge heart for the students that feel like they're a little bit different than the others and need a little bit different attention and a different path to take to be successful. Thank you.
You are more than welcome. And we thank you. The League of Women Voters thanks these candidates for joining us and for running for office. A recording of this forum and others will be available on the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County website and the YouTube channel. Find links at lwvsnoho.org. We encourage you to explore additional information about these and all the candidates. Vote411.org, sponsored by the League, is another good source of information. The Snohomish County voter pamphlet was mailed starting October 18th. Ballots will be mailed starting October 19th. Election Day is November 7th. Please be a voter. Thank you to our League Candidate Forum team, and special thanks to Dave Moon and the Sultan School students at turkpride.tv who made this live stream possible. And of course, thank you all of you for joining us. This concludes our Candidate Forum.